The final sign has appeared, not a symbol to be taken lightly, not a coincidence to be brushed aside. This is not the moment to debate timelines or argue over calendars. The sign is not about date, it's about destiny. A divine marker has been placed in the fabric of time. Heaven has issued its final trumpet of warning before the trumpet of calling. The sign is here, and its presence demands a response not from the world, but from the people of God. You feel it, you see it. The world is unraveling. That which was once stable is shaking. Truth has been cast to the ground, and evil parades with pride in the streets. The very foundations are trembling, and the voice of God is crying out. Can you hear it? The sign isn't just out there in the skies or on the headlines. It's being etched into the soul of the church. It's being shouted into the spirits of the elect. The time is now. The midnight cry is closer than ever before. And yet, in this critical hour, something else rises not from God, but from the adversary. Darkness, heaviness, confusion, fear, depression, anxiety, these are not emotions, they are assignments. Weapons of warfare sent against the chosen ones to paralyze, to distract, to crush. Because the enemy knows something that even many in the church have forgotten. When the last sign appears, his time is short. The devil does not waste his energy where there is no threat. If you are under attack in this hour, it is because you carry something holy. You bear a light the darkness fears. You have a calling the enemy cannot extinguish, so he tries to silence you with despair. You see, the appearance of the last sign isn't only about prophecy, it's about purification. When the sign comes, the refining begins. God is not only calling his bride to watch, he's calling her to be ready. The garments must be white. The lamp must be full of oil. But here lies the struggle. How do you fill your lamp with oil when your heart is drowning in sorrow? How do you stand in victory when your mind is in turmoil? That is the war of the final hour, and this is where you must understand something. The rapture is not a doctrine, it's a separation. A tearing away, a rescue, but also a revelation. It will reveal who was watching, who was waiting, and who was merely surviving. And the enemy knows it, so he sends the spirit of heaviness like a flood. He fills the atmosphere with anxiety. He whispers lies in your quiet moments. You're not ready, you're not worthy, you're too broken, too sinful, too late. But the blood of the Lamb speaks louder than the lies. The final sign did not come to condemn, it came to compel. It came to awaken you, to tell you that your deliverance is near. You must not mistake the presence of the storm for the absence of God. In fact, the greater the storm, the closer the King. He said, when you see all these things begin to come to pass, look up, for your redemption draws near. He didn't say look around, he didn't say look down, he didn't say give up, he said look up, because the sign is not the end, it is the beginning of glory. So now is not the time to entertain the lies of despair. It is not the time to drown in fear. It is the time to rise, to war, to prepare. The church was never meant to go out in weakness. It was meant to rise in power. And that power comes not from your strength, but from your surrender, from a heart fully given even in brokenness, even in weakness, because his power is made perfect there, in your struggle. And what the enemy meant to use as a chain, God is about to turn into a key. This is not the hour to retreat. It's the hour to return. Return to the altar. Return to the secret place. Return to the voice of the one who still walks among the lampstands. The sign is the signal. The trumpet is close. The King is on his way, and every weight that burdens your spirit must now be laid down not in despair, but in preparation. For the final sign has not appeared to scare you. It has appeared to ready you. The battle has intensified. Not on the news, not in the streets, but within you. Inside your mind, your heart, your soul. That's where the war is being waged right now. As the final sign appears and the hour draws close, the enemy has shifted his strategy. He knows that if he cannot stop the prophetic clock, he will try to stop you. If he cannot halt God's plan, he will seek to paralyze those chosen to walk in it. And so he wages war with weapons not seen by the eye but felt in the soul: fear, anxiety, discouragement, depression, hopelessness. This is the war of the last hour. Understand this mystery. As the days grow darker in the world, the battle inside the believer grows fiercer. The enemy aims not only to corrupt the world, but to infiltrate the hearts of God's people with despair. Because if he can control your mind, he can steal your peace. If he can poison your emotions, he can render you ineffective. He doesn't need to destroy you physically if he can disable you spiritually. This is why so many are feeling overwhelmed in this hour, because the enemy knows the time is short and he is targeting the saints like never before. But you must know the nature of this warfare. It is not random. It is specific. The attacks you face are not because of your weakness, but because of your calling. You feel heaviness because you carry something heavy, the weight of your destiny in this final hour. The enemy attacks what he fears. He knows what God has placed inside you, and he trembles at the thought of you fully walking in it. So he attacks your mind with endless accusations, whispering, "You're failing, you're falling, you'll never overcome." He feeds your heart with lies that seem like truth, because they wear the disguise of your own thoughts. But listen, these are not your thoughts. They are fiery darts. The Word says to take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. Why? Because not every thought belongs to you. Some thoughts are assignments. Some feelings are arrows. The battle is not in your emotions. It is in your agreement. If you agree with the lies, you empower them. If you reject them with the truth, you disarm them. That is why the enemy works day and night to wear you down, to fill your atmosphere with darkness, to cloud your mind with confusion, because he fears the power that is released when you choose to stand on truth. The Scripture declares, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." This is the key to victory in this hour. The battle is not won by trying harder, but by thinking differently. When you allow the Spirit of God to renew your mind, the lies lose their grip and peace returns. It is not about denying your pain, but about refusing to surrender to it. It is not about pretending you have no fear, but choosing to walk by faith despite the fear. This is the victory that overcomes the world, even your faith. In these final moments before the trumpet sounds, the people of God must understand that the enemy's strongest weapon is deception. He wraps his lies in half-truths, twists your struggles into verdicts, turns your failures into identity. But the blood of Messiah speaks a better word. His sacrifice has already declared who you are: redeemed, forgiven, chosen, beloved. The enemy accuses, but the advocate intercedes. The darkness shouts, but the still small voice whispers, "You are mine." And here is the secret: when you stand in agreement with God's word, you break the power of the adversary. The battle shifts when you no longer define yourself by your feelings, but by his truth. You may feel weak, but he says you are strong. You may feel alone, but he says he will never leave you. You may feel unworthy, but he calls you righteous by his blood. This is how you overcome the war of the mind and heart in the last hour. Do not be surprised at the fiery trial you are facing. It is the refining fire. It is preparing you for the moment when the trumpet sounds. The enemy's attacks are the sign of his desperation, not his victory. Every attack you endure is proof that you are closer than ever to your calling, to your destiny, to your King. The heaviness you feel is not the end. It is the labor pains before the birth of glory. The storm may rage. The darkness may thicken. The voices may grow louder, but you are not called to bow to them. You are called to rise above them. You are called to fix your eyes on him who is faithful, and in that gaze the power of the storm is broken. The battle is fierce, but the victory has already been won. There is nothing new under the sun. What is happening now has happened before, though the faces and the names may change. The battle that rages in this final hour is the same battle that has raged since the beginning. The adversary has always sought to steal, kill, and destroy. But there is an ancient path, a way walked by those who have gone before us, men and women who stood in the midst of storms, who faced overwhelming darkness, who stared death in the face and still chose to believe. The same path is set before us now, in this late hour. The saints of old did not overcome by avoiding trouble. They overcame by standing in it, by walking through it, by refusing to bow to the voices of fear and despair. Noah heard the mockery of his generation as he built the ark, but he kept building. Abraham left everything familiar, walking into the unknown because God spoke. Joseph sat in prison, falsely accused, but never abandoned the dreams God had planted within him. Moses stood before Pharaoh, powerless in the eyes of man, but armed with the word of the Almighty. David faced Goliath with nothing but a sling, yet his heart was filled with the confidence of heaven. And Esther stood in the throne room, risking her life for her people, declaring, "If I perish, I perish." They all face their own versions of what we face now: fear, anxiety, threats, overwhelming odds. But they overcame not by their own strength, not by their own wisdom, but by faith. They clung to the promises of God when everything around them said otherwise, and in doing so they became witnesses, testimonies, living stones declaring the faithfulness of God. In this final generation, we are called to walk that same path. The way of the overcomer has not changed. The enemy may have new tactics, new technologies, but his strategy remains the same: to fill your heart with fear, to overwhelm your mind with anxiety, to suffocate your spirit with hopelessness. But the answer remains unchanged. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony. The blood of the Lamb declares that your victory is not based on your performance, but on his finished work. The cross has already broken every chain. The empty tomb has already shattered the power of death. The throne of God remains unshaken. And the word of your testimony is not merely your story. It is your agreement with heaven. It is when you speak what God has said, when you declare his promises in the face of your storm, that the enemy's hold begins to break. The spirit of heaviness comes like a weight in this hour. You feel it pressing down on your mind, your emotions, your very breath. But the Word says God gives us a garment of praise in exchange for the spirit of heaviness. Praise is not a reaction to how you feel. It is a weapon against what you feel. When you praise in the midst of sorrow, you wage war against the enemy. When you lift your voice in thanksgiving while the storm rages, you proclaim the sovereignty of your God. And the darkness trembles. The enemy whispers that you are defeated, that you are finished, that you will not endure. But heaven declares that you are more than a conqueror. The adversary says you are overwhelmed, but the Spirit says you are an overcomer. Not because of your strength, but because of his grace. Not because you have figured it all out, but because you have surrendered it all to him. You see, overcoming negative feelings is not about denying your pain. It's not about pretending you have no struggles. It's about knowing where to take them. The saints of old cried out to God in their distress. They poured out their hearts before him. They were honest with their fears, but they refused to let fear define them. They let God define them. And so must you. This is not the time to listen to the voice of despair. This is the time to rise up in the authority of the cross, to declare his promises over your life, your family, your future. The storm may intensify, the world may grow darker, but you were born for such a time as this. You were chosen to stand in this hour, to walk the ancient path, to overcome as they overcame, because the same God who was with them is with you now. The final sign has appeared, and with it comes a call. Not a call to fear, not a call to retreat, but a call to action, a call to awaken, a call to redeem the time that remains before the trumpet sounds. Every moment that passes now is not just another tick of the clock. It is borrowed time, sacred time, given to you for a purpose. The days are evil, yes, but that is why the call to redeem the time is more urgent than ever. The final sign is not just a warning of what is coming. It is an invitation to step into who you were always meant to be. The enemy would have you believe that it's too late, that the world is too far gone, that your failures have disqualified you, that your weaknesses are too great, but the Word of God says otherwise. The very fact that you are alive right now, in this generation, in this prophetic hour, is proof that you have a part to play. You were not placed here by accident. You were appointed. The Lord does not waste lives. Every breath you take in these final moments has purpose assigned to it. Look at what is unfolding around you. The nations rage, the earth groans, darkness increases, the hearts of men fail them for fear. And yet, in the midst of it all, a remnant rises, not by their own strength, but by his Spirit, a people who hear the sound of the approaching King and understand the time, a people who refuse to be paralyzed by fear, but are moved by urgency. This is the hour to cast off everything that hinders, every sin that entangles, every weight that slows you down. The time is short, but it is enough if you redeem it. Do not mistake the lateness of the hour as a reason to despair. The lateness of the hour means the nearness of his coming, and in that nearness is your calling. The Lord is not looking for perfect vessels. He is looking for surrendered hearts. Hearts that will say, "Here I am, Lord, use me." Hearts that will shine even as the night grows darker. The darker the world becomes, the brighter your light can shine. But you must choose. You must choose to rise, to stand, to prepare. The enemy's strategy in this late hour is distraction. If he cannot destroy you, he will distract you. He will fill your days with noise, with worry, with endless cycles of fear and doubt, keeping you so consumed with the temporary that you lose sight of the eternal. But heaven's call is louder still. The Spirit is calling you to lift your eyes above the storm, to fix your gaze upon the one who is coming, and to live as one who knows that every step you take now echoes into eternity. You are not powerless in this hour. You have been given authority, authority to trample upon serpents and scorpions, authority to cast down every lie of the enemy, authority to walk in peace that surpasses understanding, authority to proclaim the gospel to those who are lost in the darkness. This is not the time to hide your lamp under a basket. This is the time to place it on the lampstand, and to let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. The final sign is not just a message to the world. It is a commission to the church. The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. In this late hour, the Lord is calling for laborers, for watchmen on the wall, for intercessors in the secret place, for messengers who will not compromise the truth, but speak it in boldness and love, for believers who will live lives so anchored in His Word that no shaking can move them. The days ahead may bring greater shaking, greater turmoil, but do not let your heart be troubled. You were never promised the absence of storms. You were promised His presence within them, and the presence of God within you is stronger than any storm around you. As the days grow darker, the glory of God upon His people will shine brighter. The final sign has sounded the alarm, but it has also lit the flame. Redeem the time, wake up from your slumber, cast off the works of darkness, clothe yourself in the armor of light. Stand in the gap for those who are perishing, pray without ceasing, love without condition, speak truth without fear. And know that your redemption draws near, because soon, very soon, the trumpet will sound.